Hey YouTube gardeners, today we're going to talk about raising monarchs, whether raising monarchs to you means helping facilitate them in the yard by having a garden that's friendly to monarchs, or if you want to actually take them inside and raise them, how I will show several of the key points in this video here in a little bit. But there's a few things that are absolutely necessary that I want to discuss, and we'll start off by talking about some milkweed, because the thing about milkweed is butterflies love the flowers that are produced by milkweed, but monarch butterflies in particular must have milkweed. If they don't have milkweed, then their caterpillars won't have a food source. It's called a host plant for the monarch butterflies. That just means that it's a plant that the butterflies will lay their eggs on, because they'll be host to the caterpillars, and that's the food source for the caterpillars. Monarchs in particular can only eat milkweed. So if you don't have milkweed, then you're not going to be able to facilitate monarchs, at least monarch caterpillars. But if you really want to raise monarchs in your yard, you have got to have milkweed. So I have a few different examples of milkweed. I'll go over those with you right here. So here we have butterfly weed, milkweed. It is a quintessential one that's got the orange flower. Lots of people are familiar with it, but I've never had monarchs land on that or eat that. They tend to like this one I have here. It's hard to tell without it flowering, but it's called swamp milkweed. And that's the one I've had the most success with this year. And this bigger one off here to the side is showy milkweed. I decided to plant a variety of different kinds in order to help facilitate any monarchs that might be interested in stopping here, cater to their different tastes perhaps. Another one I have here is called narrow leaf milkweed. Where you have milkweed, you'll almost always have the milkweed beetle. There's the milkweed beetle. Something to keep in mind as you're planting your milkweed. See, I have some milkweed over there, and then I have what's called Joe Pye weed next to some more milkweed, and then what's called ironweed. So when you're planting your milkweed, it only blooms for a couple weeks at a time. And as you can see, this is almost all done blooming except for that one little orange patch. But you need to have flowers with nectar in them for the adult butterflies to feed on. That's what's going to help attract them to your yard in the first place. So you don't want to plant just a whole field of nothing but milkweed. You need to have other flowers and other things as well. Some plants that are good for butterflies in particular, these are different varieties of zinnias. You can see how, like this zinnia in particular, is open and easily accessible to this part of the flower where the pollen is. Same with these and different sunflowers. They're very open to the centers. This is an example. This is called lantana. It has a very open flower as well, so the butterflies love it. They can land right on it. It's a good landing pad for them, and they can get to the nectar really easily. Yarrow is another great one. Clearly it has a very open, flat place for the pollinators and butterflies to land on. Ironweed is another good example. And butterfly bush as well. It's a common one, and as you can see, it's also got clusters of small flowers, easy for the butterflies to land on. Maybe sensing a pattern here. All of the different flowers that are good for butterflies have small flowers in clusters. One more thing to consider is if you're going to go out and get the eggs off of the plants so you can raise the monarchs, got to make sure it's accessible. I have all my milkweed put in the back because it's not necessarily the most pretty flower. So I have a whole bunch of milkweed back there, but it's really hard to get to, especially through all the bees that we have hanging out on all these other plants. Here is the indoor enclosure that I use for keeping my monarchs. When they're brand newly hatched, I keep them in a Tupperware and just put individual milkweed leaves inside the Tupperware. But as they get bigger, I'll get a stem of a milkweed plant and stick it in some water and put it inside this little enclosure here. They've got to have good ventilation, so this is totally screen netting. You want to keep it away from any major drafts. You don't want to sit right next to a a vent or a cooling vent or anything like that. But they spend most of their time in this enclosure, and it works out well. All right, you can see in this video, the clip here, that the monarch butterfly is flying around and landing on the foliage of the milkweed plants, but it's not actually landing on any of the flowers. When you see a monarch butterfly hanging around milkweed and landing briefly and moving around a lot, but not to the flowers, there's a good chance that it's laying eggs. You'll see here the abdomen's curled up underneath the leaves. That's where it places its eggs, on the bottom side of the leaves. The eggs are dome-shaped, pretty tiny. You can see that next to a regular toothpick. They're about the size of a pinhead, pretty amazingly small. Then they will turn dark like this, and that means they're pretty close to hatching. Here's day 1 of a freshly hatched caterpillar. You can hardly see any stripes on it. Day 2, the stripes start to show up a little bit better. Day 3, you'll be able to see the individual colors, yellow, black, and white on the caterpillar. They're pretty caterpillars in my opinion, and they grow pretty quickly. So day 5, you can see it starts to plump up, and you can start to see there's really a caterpillar. Day 6 and 7, they kind of do their regular thing, eat and poop. Then it's after about day 7, when you get closer to 9 and 10, where the caterpillar starts to get bigger. You see there, it's the width of the toothpick now on day 9. In this picture, you can see that I have 6 separate monarch caterpillars, and they're all getting close to the adult size, so they eat a ton. And these are examples of what happens after you have a couple of monarchs inside. They eat all the leaves totally, completely off, and they just grow bigger and bigger. Day 11 and 12 and 13 to around 14, it seems like they can practically grow right before your eyes. This guy is sitting here eating and doing what he does best, getting bigger, getting ready to move on to the next phase of his development. He's going to soon go up to near the top. They like to go near the top of things, of their enclosures, the top of a milkweed plant, and he's going to do what's called J-hanging. This is an example of a caterpillar who is J-hanging. They've attached their rear end to, in this case, the bottom of a leaf with some silk web is what it looks like, and they J-hang. Just take a look at this video. He's just wiggling around, shedding his skin, and you can just see all of a sudden it's a chrysalis. Some people often mistake and call it a cocoon. This is a chrysalis. The caterpillar is turned into a chrysalis, where a cocoon is a structure that's made around a caterpillar. Different types of caterpillars and moths do different things. But he does a few final wiggles here to tighten things up. He or she. Up until now, you've had to clean the cage from poop and everything every day, but you don't have to do that once they form their chrysalis. From now on, all you have to do is just wait. Put on your butterfly wings if you've got them, and wait. There's a different shot of what the chrysalis can look like. It's fun to see the little gold flecks on there, and there's some near the bottom that you can see, and that ring of flecks around the top. It's pretty. This video, I want to show you the difference when you have a when you have a chrysalis that's about ready to have the caterpillar emerge. It darkens in color like this. It starts to darken about a day before, and so you know to keep an eye on it. And then when it gets a little bit more dark, this one's pretty close. You can start to see the orange wings through the chrysalis, kind of the membrane of the chrysalis. That's when you know it's imminent. The butterfly is going to emerge anytime when you can really see the orange wings clearly like that. This is a video sped up, I think 10x on this one, just to show in a reasonable time frame what it looks like when the butterfly emerges from the chrysalis. After it emerges, it needs to spend some time pumping some fluid and using the hydrostatic pressure to expand its wings, which you can see here. Sorry about the jittery camera. My cat was super interested and kept bumping the cage, trying to get a closer look at the butterfly. It's pretty to see its wings inflate like that, and it just hangs there for a while. This is the time that you can get your cameras out and get some good pictures, get some nice close shots. It'll hang for about a day and not really do anything for a day. Your butterflies need about a day for the rest of their systems to fully develop, so you don't have to feed them or give them water or anything this first, let's call it 24 hours. At that point, you can take them outside and let them go. But it's fun to get some different pictures. One more time, here's a different video, a close-up video of a different chrysalis, of a different butterfly emerging from the chrysalis. This one I believe I sped up 16x. It's a nice clear video, really close up. This particular butterfly, when he or she got out of the chrysalis, did not want to sit still, so I had to get some pictures in various different spots. On this next one, I was able to put a flashlight from a phone behind the butterfly, so it looks like the stained glass situation going on is real pretty. Some other views. This is a picture a friend took for me of one of the butterflies I let them take and hatch. Again, putting some light behind the wings, really showing off those marvelous colors and striking patterns on the butterflies. Monarchs are truly beautiful. Here's some silk and empty chrysalises I wanted to show you. They make a lot of silk to hold themselves securely, which is good because when they're on the underside of leaves outside in the wild, the wind is going to be blowing them around. They need to hold on. But you can hear the chrysalis is nice and dry and crunchy. It's only a day or so after. And they're not very big. And it's surprising how big the butterflies are when they come out and unfold their wings. It's just amazing every time I see it. Pretty small chrysalis. I hung on to him just to be able to show you guys. There's a different chrysalis. You can see more of the shape of this one. Now it's been 24 hours and it's time to let this butterfly go. This is our first monarch of the season. I gently reached my hand in there and tried to just let it crawl onto my finger. You are able to hold onto their wings as long as it's not within the first few hours of them emerging. And you hold on to all four wings. You can do that, but I prefer to let the butterfly crawl onto my finger of its own volition. As I'm getting ready to bring it out, it lands on my lovely wife's arm, and she does not like bugs of any form, insects of any form, so she is freaking out right now. I'm going to turn on the audio so you can hear her little freak out. Are you freaking out right now?
Yes, I don't want it on me. Can I hold it?
I'm trying, Bree.
I want to try holding it.
How big that is.
Can I hold it? How is it? Can I hold it? Dad,
That's a healthy monarch.
Can I hold it?
My 6-year-old son trying to stick his finger there so it can crawl onto him. And you'll see freak out number 2 in just a moment. You can, but it's harder to get him to crawl if he doesn't want to. Here you go, buddy. Starting to crawl on you.
1 foot's on.
I muted this sound greatly, by the way, when he screams. Good job, just hold steady. It was piercing to be right next to him when he first screamed, but it was funny. He did well, both him and my wife. I'm proud of them. They both freaked out a little bit, but butterfly flew about 5 feet away and landed on this morning glory plant. And it was sunning his wings and kind of orienting himself. If you're lucky, you might get it to land on you, on your arm like this. This is a friend. Or even on your head, which was kind of silly. I'm sure she thought that was the greatest thing ever.
I want to feel how weird its feet are first, okay?
Here's my daughter. She wants to finally hold it after she gained the courage to do it. Place it on her fingers, or on her hand. Hold it so I can see it, please. Point it toward me. Move your hand toward me.
Sorry.
There it goes.